Anybody?
When two power-driven vessels are meeting.
Bus. Rule number 15. First 6 words.
When two power-driven vessels are crossing.
Okay. Rule number 17. First 6 words.
When one of the two vessels.
Okay. So how many vessels are we talking about here? So when we talk about the rules regarding crossing situation, regarding head-on situation, how many vessels are we talking about?
2, sir.
Only one, sir. Power-driven vessels.
No, we are 2 लिखा हुआ है तो 1 कहाँ से हुआ?
So 2 power-driven vessels.
Yeah, we are
2 power-driven vessels.
So if there are more than 2 vessels, then what happens? Singapore Strait, you have 2 vessels in a head-on situation. You are the own vessel. You have a target vessel head-on situation. You have a fishing vessel on sometime somewhere close by, and then you vessel which. So, what is the situation here?
This is a special.
Now, what to do? It was not there. It is not it's not there on the chart. There is one message which you just received that our boy has just been put there. So that message has just come, and you are able to see it in front of you. So what action are you going to take? This is a special circumstance. You cannot plan for it. It is not part of the rules. So now you have to use your judgment to make sure that you are taking care of that. So rules, special circumstances, and seamanship practice. Everything you have to take care of. And this in all of law, whenever you are going to study maritime law, whenever you will go up and study different words regarding different cargo carriage, seaworthiness, so many words you will hear. The word is called due diligence. Due diligence. Due diligence. So due diligence must be followed. What is due diligence? Following the rules, following the best practices, and taking care of special circumstances. You have fog, special circumstance. You have a fog, special circumstance. Heavy rains, special circumstance. Don't speak in between. Raise your hand, put it in the chat. Okay. So that is what is called due diligence. So that's rule 2A. Now, what about 2B? 2B is a standard disclaimer. 2B is a standard disclaimer. What it merely says is that just because you have followed the rules, if you will collide, you are still liable. Right? If there is a collision and you say that, sir, I have all complied with all the rules, right? From 1 to 41, everything I have complied with. Am I liable? The answer is yes. And this is what rule 2B says. So therefore, when collision is imminent, you are supposed to do whatever is required to avoid collision and reduce the damage. These are very, very old rules of the sea, old laws of the sea, that whenever there is a damage, if you think that there could be damage to the ship or to some other ship, then you have to do whatever is required to reduce the damage, right? And for that, it will be covered by insurance, etc. also. But you have to do that, whatever is required. Now the question comes that what is the duty of an officer on watch? So will the officer on watch be doing all of that? The answer to that is no. Officer on watch will never be doing Rule 2B actions. What is the reason for that? Rule 2B requires, what does it say? Somebody can please read out that. Rule 2B.
and complying with these regulations, regard shall be had to all measures of navigation and collision and to any special circumstances, including the limitations of the vessels involved, which may make a departure from these rules necessary to avoid immediate danger.
So there are some specific dangers, there are some special circumstances, limitations of the vessel. So in any of these cases, you could have an issue with some other vessel that might need to keep clear or something needs to be done, but they are not taking the action. And then you find yourself in trouble. You are not able to keep clear of, or maybe you need to do something which is away from the rules. Now, as an OW, what are your duties? As an OW, what are your duties? That is also given in the rules. I will not be going away from the rules right now. Everything, whatever I am saying, is there in the rules. What are the duties of the OW? Rule 5, that is the first duty. What is the second duty? Rule 6, that is the second duty. What is the third duty? Rule 7. Right? So lookout, speed, and risk of collision, that is your ROC assessment, risk of collision assessment. So which means that you have to plot on the radar, you have to acquire the target, you have to find out the CPA, right? Risk of collision. This is what is the duty of the OW, right? Now, during his duties, if he finds that something is wrong, what is the duty of the OW?
Inform masters.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Where is it written?
Master standing.
Okay, master standing orders उसमें लिखा होगा, but when I say where is it written, means as per which rule? Is there any rule? Is there any law regarding this?
Standard to avoid collision.
Huh?
STCW, sir, standards of watchkeeping, chapter
Yes.
8.
Yes. STCW chapter 8. This is where you will find the information on when to call the master. Therefore, in case of any problem, if you will call the master, prepare your engines, whatever, he is the one who is going to take care of 2B. So the duties of the OW are simple, 5, 6, and 7. Of course, 8, under normal circumstances, 8 also. But 8 will be straightforward only if there is no special circumstances, there is no limitations of the vessel, then 8 is straightforward. But if there is special circumstances, limitations, 8 may not be straightforward. That is where we need to be clear about this part. Right. Now, any questions?
सर ये रूल नंबर 17 के लिए भी तो OW रिस्पांसिबल रहेगा ना?
Rule number
17 sir. Action
Rule
based
number
standard.
17 is far off. We are not even there. We are just dealing with the very basics. We are dealing with the very, very basics. And rule number 17 is a corollary of rule number 15, 16. So when we talk about 15, 16, then only 17 comes. Otherwise, where is the question of 17? Anything else? Anybody? नहीं?
सर ये जो रूल नंबर 2B की जो language है, in considering and complying with these जो regard shall be had all dangers and navigation. सर इसकी interpretation कर देंगे एक बार.
Yeah. Construing and complying. Construing means to try and make sure that we are going to put this one into effect. And complying means, of course, whatever is written, we are going to comply. To put this into effect and to comply, then due regard. Due regard means we shall take into account then we have dangers of navigation, then limitations of the vessels and special circumstances, which may make a departure. Departure matlab, I might need to do something opposite to what is written in the rules. For example, I have a head-on situation. And head-on situation wants me to go to starboard, but because of these three problems, I need to go to port. Then only I can avoid. Iske alawa avoid karna not possible. So this is what is a departure from the rules. So I will go to port. Does that anything stop me from going to port? The answer is no. I will go to port. Why? Because I can take that action under 2B. But is the officer on watch going to decide that? This is my point here. Is the officer on watch going to decide that? The answer to that is no. The officer on watch will keep the lookout, will make sure he is on safe speed. He will make sure his risk of collision is already taken care of. How do you assess risk of collision? Give me the practical answer. I don't want the book knowledge or anything like that. Give me practical.
If bearing is closing, sir.
Rubbish. Give me
Constant-
practical answer what you are doing on the ship.
Constant bearing, decreasing range.
This is what you are doing on the
Will take the set of bearings,
Tighten hearing and taking bearing.
and if the
Technically watching
bearing,
CPA and TCPA, sir.
Absolutely. Who said that? CPA, TCPA, kaun bola?
Sir, myself.
Huh?
Apurv.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we do. How many people are taking bearings? Chief officer देख लिया तो ठीक है, एक आध बार bearing ले लिया, चलो.
sir, closing opening bearing तो sir visually दिख ही जाता है.
सर पर एग्जाम में हम लोग ये सीपीए टीसीपीए बोलेंगे ओरल में, मतलब पूछेगा तो.
Does your captain tell you to take the bearing every time you see a ship?
No, sir.
No, sir.
What is wrong with that? So all the captains, you are how many of you are here? 30, 29, 28, 30 of you, and you must have sailed with at least 2 captains or 3 captains each. So that makes it about 100 captains. So all the 100 captains are wrong.
No, sir.
Then what is
No.
wrong?
Sir,
When we talk about risk of collision, we talk about CPA and TCPA, as simple as that, right? How we can make sure practically we can verify by bearings. You want to take bearings and you want to verify, okay, go ahead and do that. That is okay, right? Okay, anything else on this one? Can we go ahead?
Sir, एग्जाम में तो सर हम प्रैक्टिकली बताएंगे ना सर, जो प्रैक्टिकली फर्स्ट करते हैं.
Absolutely, that is what is required. But it has to be justified, because the examiner could ask you to justify. So you have to justify that.
Okay.
To justify that, you have to know the rules. Then only you can justify that. Okay, so going ahead, next. So rule 5, 6, and 7, very quickly, let us go through. So 5, it talks about lookout. So lookout, every word in that paragraph is important. I cannot say that kabhi lookout ke bare mein agar bolna ho, to you can remove any word from there. Every word is important, right? At all times. So, does it apply to vessel at anchor? Lookout, does it apply to vessel at anchor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Does it apply to vessel in port?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Does it apply to vessel in the dry dock?
Yes.
Yes.
Dry dock mate does not apply. Why dry dock mate does not apply? Because the vessel is not afloat. The vessel is not a vessel anymore. Yeah. So that's the reason why it does not apply in the dry dock. Okay. Anyway, this question they will not ask. But does it apply in the port? Does it apply in the anchor? Yes, definitely. At all times. Right? Then he says proper. What is the meaning of proper? They have defined proper. Sight, hearing, and all available means. That is proper. What is proper? Sight, hearing, and all available means. Then he says appropriate. It has to be appropriate. What is the meaning of appropriate? I will give you an example. So let us say open sea, nothing around in the daytime. Yeah, nothing around. Ship is in the daytime. Very nice weather. Everything is there. Okay. OW is the officer on watch. He's alone on the bridge. No problem. Now, slowly the wind rises up, 4-6, 4-7. The ship starts to move and everything. So some ships are also there. So maybe you need to alter here and there. So you call the duty AB up on the bridge. We've increased the number. We've increased the lookout. Yeah, we've increased the people on the bridge. And now, uske baad mein, the rain starts and you're not able to see very far. Of course, the radar is there, but the radar also there is so much of clutter. What are you going to do? You will call the next one more person to keep a lookout. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So this is what is appropriate to the situation. So this, let us look at it in a different way. So the ship comes out of, let us say, Haldia. She comes out and she's sailing to Singapore. So out in the open sea, the ship is going to be officer and the helmsman. So they are on the bridge, right? As the ship is coming close to Rondo Islands, you will increase one man on the bridge. Yeah. So the lookout will be there, and then you have the helmsman also and the officer on watch. Now, as he is going to approach Singapore, maybe the master is there on the bridge with him, or maybe maybe the chief officer is there on the bridge with him. So you have a senior officer, you have a helmsman, you have an officer on watch, you have a lookout. Appropriate. Yeah. Basically, it talks about what we call bridge watch level. You have studied this in bridge procedure guide? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the meaning of appropriate. And then he talks about full appraisal of the situation. What is this full appraisal of the situation? This is the risk assessment, ROC. This is what full appraisal of the situation. All the ships which are there on your radar screen, all must be acquired, TCPA, CPA. We should have everything listed with all the vectors and everything. Anything that is on your screen must have a vector, must have the CPA, TCPA. End of the story. Full appraisal. Okay, then we come to safe speed. Now, safe speed is in two parts. First part, the first paragraph is the definition. And then we have the second and the third paragraph. That is the factors to be taken into account in determining safe speed. Once more, the first paragraph is the definition. So you can please, if you don't have written down in your book, isko likh lo wahan pe. The first paragraph is the definition of safe speed. Definition is not in the part B, part C. That part, that kya kehta hai usko? A and B, those sub paragraphs are there. That is not the definition of safe speed. What is safe speed? That is not safe speed. A is the factors to be taken into account by all vessels, and B are the factors to be taken into account by ships which are using radar. So basically, A and B together you have to take into account, because today every ship is fitted with radar. Right? But what is safe speed? That is not A and B. That is the first paragraph. Right? Now, what does that first paragraph say? Somebody can please read out that first few lines, that first sentence only. Jisme definition diya hua.
Sir, every vessel shall at all times proceed at a safe speed, so that she can take proper and effective action to avoid collision and be stopped within a distance appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions.
Right? So there are the two aspects of safe speed. Number one, proper and effective action. Number two is stopping distance. Proper and effective action. So while I am moving ahead at whatever the speed I am doing, I give the wheel hard to starboard. What should the ship do? what should the ship do as per IMO?
Turn towards starboard.
Yes, and it should when it turns, which part of the rules or which part of the law it is supposed to comply? When it turns, when a ship is turning with hard over wheel, which law or which requirement she is supposed to comply?
Maneuvering characteristics.
Maneuvering characteristics. Yes, absolutely correct. She is supposed to comply with the turning circle, advance, tactical diameter, all that she is supposed to comply. Only then we can say it is proper and effective. Right? Now, let me give you an example. You are working on container ship, which is which makes 20 knots, 25 knots out at sea. Now, this container ship, you are proceeding at 2 knots. If you give the wheel hard over to starboard, is it going to comply?
No, sir.
No, na?
मैन्युवरेबिलिटी उसकी उसको परमिट
Come back.
सर 2 नॉट्स में वो मैन्युवर नहीं कर पाएगा ढंग से, मींस उसका शेयरिंग का अच्छे से काम नहीं करेगा.
Yeah. So, which means that your speed must be always at a minimum maneuvering that is required. Minimum maneuvering speed, right? If you are going at less than that, or if you are drifting, then you are definitely not at safe speed, unless you've got engines and everything at your disposal and you are able to take quick action. So you have to decide on that. So this gives you a minimum criteria, minimum maneuvering speed. Second part, stopping distance, right? Now stopping distance will be directly proportional to what? If your speed is more, stopping distance will be
more, sir.
And speed is less, stopping distance will be
Less.
Yes.
So you have to decide your stopping distance, and accordingly you have to adjust your maximum speed. So you can say that, okay, my maximum speed I need for this particular passage is maybe about 12 knots or 14 knots, and I will maintain that. So I have a range of speed in which I should be steering, a minimum speed and a maximum speed. Right? So the minimum speed will decide whether I'm able to take proper and effective action or not. And the maximum speed will decide whether I will be able to be stop in a correct distance, because it says appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions. So this is what is safe speed. Any doubts, any questions?
Sir, ये prevailing circumstances के बारे में बता दीजिए.
Prevailing मतलब what is the situation right now? Prevailing. At the present, what is the situation? Matlab, there is wind, sea. What is the situation right now? Prevailing right now. That is what. Anything else? Anything else? Right. Then I think we'll take a break now.